My name is Gina. Welcome back. It is January 27th today, and I'm actually able to record because we have had a big snowstorm come through, as I think a lot of the southern and eastern part of the US has experienced. So I am currently home from work because my campus is remote only today. So had a little opportunity to hop on here and give you an update. So hopefully this will be a relatively short episode. I hope that I can get it all in for sure under an hour, but hopefully under like 45 minutes. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge that it has been it's been a hard year so far, but the last week has been really particularly terrible. And on the one hand, it feels weird and kind of wrong to make a video talking about knitting and posting, on social media about knitting when it really feels like my country is falling apart all around me, and it's easy to feel very helpless during those times, particularly for those of us who live in places where it feels like our voices really don't matter. I can call my reps all day long and do, and it doesn't seem to make a difference. I know that it does, and I know it's important to keep doing that regardless, but it's easy to just start feeling overwhelmed and helpless during moments like this, where it feels like our voices aren't making a difference and that our government doesn't care about us. So I just want to acknowledge that, but I also do believe that it is important to remain hopeful that change is possible, and in order to remain possible, you have to find things that bring you joy. And for me, knitting is definitely one of those things. I posted a little reel on Instagram this morning just about why it's a video of me knitting on my book club cardigan, and just how I feel like that is helpful for me in terms of my mental health and in staying hopeful so that I can continue resisting the powers and authorities around me. So I just want to acknowledge that, and I guess we can just jump right into finished objects because my most freshly finished object is relevant to this. So, and that is, I bought the Melt the Ice pattern that I'm sure many of you have seen on Ravelry. It's been in the number 1 spot for the last couple of days, and here is my version of it. In case you haven't heard, the pattern is very simple, but it's being sold by, I think, a yarn shop in Minneapolis in Minnesota, where the ice activity has been very heavy, and where now multiple people have been shot and killed by ice as they protest over ICE's activities and treatment of human beings. So the pattern is $5, and that is all being directly donated to mutual aid organizations there in Minneapolis that are helping with like food and rent and things like that. So for people impacted. So I felt good about hopping on and purchasing that. And then I posted on my Facebook, which is more like in real life friends, who are not all knitting friends. Like my Instagram is mostly knitting. So I posted on there and said, if anybody would like one of these, let me know. And I will make them and I will donate like half or more of the money that I make on this to one of those mutual aid organizations. So I had a few people who said that they were interested. So I knit this up yesterday, and then I finished it off this morning. This is knit with Brava, Knit Picks Brava in the colorway Current, I believe. And it's this really, it's a pretty deep wine color. And yeah, I did make some like the pattern is pretty bare bones. It gets you this shape. And they tell you how to make the tassel and stuff. But it's pretty bare bones. So I made some modifications based on what other people were saying. Cause I definitely would have read the instructions wrong had I not, read other people's notes on the pattern, because it's very simple, but it's kind of written a little confusingly. I would definitely reword their decrease section if I were them, to make that more clear. But yeah, so I modified this to make it 2x1 rib, and the pattern I believe calls for 6 inches of ribbing, and I made mine 8 inches so that it could be folded up, because one of the complaints that I was seeing about the pattern was that it results in quite a short hat if you make a double folded brim. So I will link my Ravelry project where I will point you towards the modifications that I made and the projects that I base those on. But it is a little bit big. A little bit or a lot of bit big. I'll have to see if the person who ordered them wants one that's this big, or if I need to rip it back. I used size 8 needles, which is what, the pattern is, like I said, very bare bones. It doesn't really give you, I don't think there's any gauge instructions. They tell you what the gauge was, I think, for the one that they knit at DK weight. So this is a worsted yarn, and yeah, so I don't know, probably my gauge was big, but it looks like a pretty decent gauge to me for worsted. So when I make the next one, or if I redo this one, I will probably just cast on fewer stitches and stick with the size 8 needles. But yeah, it's just long ribbing, and then this part is stockinette, and you are just working decreases down one each half. So it's not a 4-point decrease like you normally have. It's just points on either side, so that the whole thing kind of comes to a point up at the top, and then you do a little braid. And the reason that these are being made, again, in case you haven't seen any of the history behind it, is red pointed hats like this with, I guess, the little tassels were worn by Norwegians during the Nazi occupation as a symbol of protest. And yeah, and so yeah, people, I think, all over the States and maybe the world are now making these, and it seems like there's a lot of projects already on Ravelry. So I hope that the donations are really racking up for the yarn store who created the pattern, so that money can go back to the people of Minneapolis who are suffering. So yeah, that's my first knitted object. And I just wanted to point out that, let's see, the podcast, Good Yarn Bad Knits, I don't know the woman who does it, her name, but that is the name of the podcast, Good Yarn Bad Knits. She released an episode, which I think happened, I think she released the episode before the most recent murder that occurred in Minneapolis, and the episode is called Knitting Through the End of the World, and she talks in that, I thought it was really good, her discussion of whether knitting, crafting matters when you are experiencing this kind of national large-scale trauma, and are there things that you should be doing instead? Should you not be doing your knitting because it's too frivolous and unserious? And she ultimately says that, she has had, I guess, emergency training, and says that one of the first things that you are taught in those kinds of trainings is that if there are people around, everybody needs to have a job, because people are less likely to panic. They're more able to stay in control and actually be helpful if they have a job. And that's the situation that many of us are in as we sit around the country watching this happen. Like, we're not able to have a job. We're not able to feel like we have any kind of agency. And so knitting is like buying a pattern that is going to help the people who are being impacted by this, and knitting something that is a symbol of how you're feeling about it and is a symbol of resistance actually is something valuable. It is not just performative. You know, you are telling your body that you're doing something, and that is what matters. And of course she's like, of course, you know, give money. In addition, like, don't just make the hats, but also like show up in other ways to support the resistance. But yeah, you shouldn't feel like knitting this pattern isn't doing anything at all. So anyway, that really resonated with me. I would really suggest going and watching that if you are interested in this topic and want to sort of think through some of that a little bit more. So next up, in terms of finished objects, I have my husband's Forester Henley. So it is over here on my my sewing dummy. So yes, imagine, I don't know if you can see this, probably it's too dark, but it like, you know, my dummy has a bust. So my husband does not. So this is not fitting quite the same way. He's also much bigger than this. But yeah, this is the Forester Henley by Alicia Plummer. I made the size F, which is 53 inches. And this, and I also made it, like, you can't even see the bottom of this. I'll raise it up. It's quite long because my husband is quite tall. And I think I showed you guys this last time. It has this nice welt detail here. That's sort of the main feature. And then it has a little button placket and a collar, and it actually has buttons going all the way up. I don't know, I can't foresee my husband ever wearing that buttoned all the way up, but I did put the buttons on there, so he could if he wanted to. I said last time, because I was really close to being done with this, that I did not super enjoy this pattern. It just dragged on. It was a lot of really boring stockinette, and then I don't know, something went haywire with one of my fronts. I think it's either one of my fronts got off, or one side of the back was off, or I guess the third possibility is that my welt like was woppy jawed, so that it wasn't in quite the right place, because one of the sides did not quite match up. The welts didn't match up when I went to join the fronts and backs together. So that was annoying. That's not the fault of the pattern. I think I probably did something wrong in that case. I hated the buttonholes on this. I don't know if I was doing them wrong or what, but like, I can just barely see them. I had to get like teeny tiny little buttons because those were the only ones that I was going to be able to get through. Again, like, I don't know if I was just doing those incorrectly, but I had never made buttons quite that way before. And I would just, if I were to do this again, which I don't think that I ever will, but if I did, I would just do yarn over buttonholes instead of what the pattern instructs. So let's see, I made this with Wool of the Andes worsted, that's Knit Picks. Sort of workhorse yarn, and this was a superwash version of that, and I used 1,540 yards, which was 14 balls, and let's see, I bought that during one of their big sales, and the Wool of the Andes, when I buy it during the big sale, is like $2 a ball, because I'll like buy a sweater's quantity of it at that time. If I'm planning, if it's a color that I'm thinking that I'll use for my husband, I will buy 20 balls of it, and call that a sweater. Like, I can make him a sweater out of that. So yeah, so let's see, 14 balls at $2 a ball. That means this sweater was like an under $30 sweater for a size 53 inch chest. So I think that is really awesome. 100% wool sweater for under 30. Very good. Yeah, my husband, he really likes it. Purple is his favorite color. So we actually wore, he wore this and I wore this. We were like purple together, when we went to my family's Christmas just last weekend. So, yeah, I'm glad that that is all done and I have this out of my knitting life now. Next finished object I'll have to put up here because I've already sent it off to its new home, and those are the Shire mittens. That was a pattern that I was testing for Sarah Kelley of Gray Owl Knits. She makes the most amazing mitten, I mean, just amazing color work in general. Patterns. She does socks and mittens and sweaters. I've never done one of her sweaters, but I've done her socks and her mittens before, and hats, I guess, by her. So, always really enjoy those. I told you guys before that the project was becoming a little bit of a cursed project, because everything kept going wrong with it. But I'm glad to say they are finished. I thought they looked great. And actually the pattern itself was not that hard. Sometimes when you get those like really big, picture patterns like that, when they're not just repeated geometric shapes, they can be kind of tricky to do. Like her Draco Manus, these dragon mittens that I made a couple of months ago, that pattern was harder. There was more going on, more long floats that you had to catch and stuff. The Shire mitts, there were a few long floats here and there, but like I just found it overall an easier pattern. Like just the design, the big focus design was easier to knit than it sometimes is. So I sent those off to a Hobbit loving friend. And then I was showing them off on my Facebook, and I had another friend, who's, one of my longtime mentors who loves the Hobbit. She's actually a medievalist, and she was like, can I commission you to make me a pair? And I said yes. So we picked out colors and everything, and I will be making those for her. So next up we have another test knit that I was doing. This one is called the Bainbridge, not Brainbridge, Bainbridge Beanie. This is a test knit for Michelle Frazetta, or Michi Fraz Knits. Hopefully that's showing up well. It is a broken rib pattern, and yeah, really nice. It's got these pretty little decreases at the top, and it's not got like, well, I'll put it on for you and you can see. It's got a little bit of the cone top, but like not super in your face, I don't feel. Yeah, so let's see. This is I think, cute little pattern. It goes all the way from baby to adult XL, so you can make the whole family these if you want to. And it is just a really simple broken rib stitch. You can choose to make a turned up brim, or you can just start it and not have a brim. But if you're gonna do the brim, you start it, the directions have you knit with it. You don't flip it inside out, but you're knitting, like instead of doing a knit stitch every other row, you're doing purl. So that when you actually flip it up, it looks nice and it blends in with it matches the patterning, because otherwise it would not match the patterning. So that's really nice. If I were to make this again, which I definitely could see myself making another one of these, I might do work a short row so that I could knit this inside out, or actually just start it inside out, like do the knits on the outside, the knit rows on the outside, and then work a short row, so that then I'm working the rest of it the other way. But basically it's just, I did struggle a little with the brim because it's hard, like if you get off when you're working the purl side, the ridges don't show up as well, so it's really hard to see when you've made a mistake. But it's a lot easier up here. Like you notice immediately if you are purling into a knit column, but that's a lot harder to see on the purl side. So the brim took me longer than it should have because I kept messing up and having to pick things out. But yeah, that just took me a few days of knitting here and there. I used Knit Picks Special Reserve Arcadia, which is a DK weight. So this pattern does call for a DK yarn. And I just don't have like a ton of DK yarns. Apparently that's a really popular yarn weight for everybody else in the world, but not so much for me, because I just don't have a lot. And let's see, so I bought this. This is getting pretty old now. I think this was from maybe the big sale of 2020, maybe 2021. And it's discontinued. You can't get it now except in people's stashes. I like it though. I've made some other things with it. Let's see, what is this? It is I thought I wrote it down. It's a wool alpaca blend. I guess that's all you need to know, really. I don't know the specific percentages of it. But it's like a singles. It's not, you know, tightly plied. So it does fuzz up a little bit. That's my only concern. But I feel like with a hat, it's not gonna get as messed up as it would if it was like a sweater or something. Anyway, and I just had 2 balls of this color, so that was perfect. I used 1 full ball and then a little bit of another one. So maybe, I think 60 grams is what I wrote down for this. And I like didn't even realize this was going to be self-striping, because you can't really see that in the ball as it's in the put up that it's in. I don't know. So I kind of like it though. I didn't know that was going to be, but I like it. Yeah, so that was just a fun little test knit. All right, what else? Okay, I told you guys last time that I think I was ordering yarn for a fine sweater, and I got yarn to make the viral sailor slippers. So I am happy to tell you that that yarn came, and I have already been using it, and within like 2 days of that yarn landing, I had made my slippers. So the bottoms probably look super gross because I have been wearing them. They are perfect for the frigid temperatures that we were having. I think our low overnight was -1 with a real feel of lower than that. And of course, those are Fahrenheit degrees. So that is pretty cold, especially for us here. In this part of the country, it doesn't normally get quite that cold. So our houses really aren't built for that. And we have to do a lot of like going around and putting, you know, towels on our outside faucets and things like that. And we have been fortunate in that we have a really nice fireplace that like pipes out the heat to like all over the house. It doesn't just stay there where the fireplace is. And so thankfully, like we haven't even had to run our heater because we had enough wood to keep the fire going. We're gonna run out today, which is still quite cold, but it's going to be above freezing tomorrow. And I don't think our low tonight is that cold. So anyway, all that to say, it's been quite cold here. And so I have been very much enjoying these. So I told you guys I was going to report back on whether I felt like the pattern was, you know, like, does it live up to the hype? And I have to say, yes, I am a believer now. It was really fun. I did not enjoy the actual knitting process because I used the recommended needles, which were a US 11 or 8 millimeters. And I used size 11 needles, and then I held Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted double. And yeah, so the knitting experience was not so fun, but like the directions were very clear. And I actually like hit gauge perfectly, shocking because hardly ever does that happen, that I can use the recommended needles, but it all worked out. And even my row gauge, which is kind of important in this pattern, even my row gauge was like bang on. So shocking. And that's just dumb luck, you know, because you can't really control that. You know, aside from changing your needles and all that. So I was fortunate that that combination of yarn and needles really worked for me. So let's see. I I wrote down all my totals so that hopefully I can replicate this. I used 60 grams of this light green color. That's my main color. And then I used 42 grams of the darker green color. And then I used 99 grams, so almost 2 full balls of the hot pink. So the pink, you're actually supposed to have, like, the pattern has 4 colors. I think this is color C, and then your like I-cord, whatever this is called, the thing at the top, that is a 4th color. It can be. And yeah, I was just like, I'm not buying a 4th color. I'm just going to use the Soul. And I think it's super cute. I love them. I was shocked at how much the Soul used, though. That was really interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense because the other 2 put together used a little bit more than that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, like, once the knitting was done, I should say, it was a lot of fun. The directions were really, really clear for how to seam it together. Like, she gives very precise directions on, like, okay, so here you're seaming, stitch to stitch, and in some other places, like, you do a little, like, around the heel, you have to do it a different rate. And she explains that all really well. And there are videos explaining that or showing that as well. So that was all really helpful. I don't know if, like, I did something wrong about my I-cord or what. I haven't gone through and looked at other people's project pictures, but, like, some of my I-cord didn't all the way cover, like, it didn't circle all the way around this. And so I don't know if that means my I-cord was too loose. Maybe, like, she doesn't say, you don't ever change needle size. But maybe I should go down in needle size for that part. I don't really know. If you know, please tell me, what would cause that. But yeah, that's the only thing that I'm, like, a little bit, not exactly thrilled with that part, but it does not bother me. I mean, these are around the house. So, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. And like I said, they were super cute. I'll put a picture up, the, requisite picture showing how ridiculous they look before they are felted. And I felt like the wool of the Andes, like, felted really well. Like, I mean, you can kind of see where the columns are, but you can't see the individual stitches. And then, my bottom is just gross. It's definitely, completely felted there. We don't have wood floors anywhere in our house, so most of our house is carpeted. So I have not had to put slip stuff on the bottom of these, but if you were a fall risk or you had those hardwood floors in your house, I definitely would put them on because it is slippery. And yeah, so one of my kids has requested a pair of these, and so I probably will be making some before too long. They were not so fun to knit, but fun to, like, make and put together and just see them come together. I washed mine. I have a front loader, and I did 2 cycles of, I think, normal. I took pictures of it so that hopefully I could replicate it later. But I did 2 cycles on hot water, and I put a towel in with them. And after 2 cycles, I thought they looked right. And so then I have a front loading dryer where you can put a rack in, and so I put them in there and dried them, and was able to wear them, like, the same day I felted them. Anyway, they were super fun. Really enjoyed that. It was like a 2-day project. Okay, and yes, I have been very stressed about world events, and so I think that is resulting in me casting on a lot of stuff and also applying for lots of test knits. Anyway, it's like I gotta keep my mind busy, my hands busy, even though I have my own works in progress already. But anyway, show you guys what I have. So I told you guys I was going to do this, and here it is, the front of my fine sweater. Isn't it insane? It's curling really badly. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the back. Are you ready? Oh, it's so So much weaving. So much weaving. Yeah, so this is Knit and Intarsia. Knit and Intarsia, and so every one of these like colors, anywhere where there's more than one color in a row, that means there was like a bobbin hanging around back there that I was knitting with. And just because it's the same color doesn't mean you're using the same bobbin. So like there's a little yellow here, but there's also yellow here and yellow down here and there in the middle and over here. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellow bobbins hanging out over here being used. And anyway, it was a lot of bobbins, and but it was good. It was good to keep my mind focused and you know, and working on something. And so I knit a lot of this this snowy weekend where I couldn't leave the house, and yeah, so I was able to make a ton of progress and get this done. I did the ribbing, like this was done by Monday, but all the rest of this was done over the next week, mostly on the weekends. So yeah, now I just have the back to do. The back it does have Intarsia, but like not nearly as much. It's mostly just flames and gray, I think, probably some of the green as well. But it's not, I don't think the back will be as intense. And then once I get the back done and kind of get that seamed up a little bit, I'll decide if I'm gonna do the sleeves or not, or if I'm just gonna do a vest. So I may decide to just go vest if I just can't bear the thought of doing more Intarsia on the sleeves. I could also do the sleeves just one color, but I'm not 100% sure that I will have enough of any of my colors to do that. We'll see. The pattern is pretty bare bones. I mean, really, like, you know, I think that the designer gives you all the information that I'll need to do it, but it definitely is not hand-holdy for sure. And what did I want to say about that? Oh, I am like, the chart is, all of this is on one page, like one 8.5 by 11 page. And so to work it, like, I'm getting those old eyes and can't see those small things anymore. So like what I've been doing is just blowing it up on my iPad. Like I have it in my PDF reader and I make the chart big so that I can read it, and I just have to scroll. So every one of these rows was me scrolling. Like I had to scroll, like I would knit half of it and then scroll to the other half and knit the other half. So yeah, there's a lot of time that went into that. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It's coming along. And then I signed up for a test with Wool and Pine Designs. I'm going to be testing their Rockhound hat. So I made the Rockhound vest a couple of years ago, and I love it. It's beautiful. The lace design is really nice. I'm looking around, sorry, for my yarn and project. So I got working on this last night because there are miles and miles of brim on this. Is that showing up? It's this really pretty plummy kind of, I would say actually plum. It's not a purple, it's not a red, it's a cross between them. I guess actually it looks really good with this. Oh, I was thinking I would get rid of this, but maybe I'll keep it so I can wear it with this with a sweater. I am, let's see, I'm using Neighborhood Fiber Co. Organic Studio DK in the color Waverly. This was some yarn I got from somebody's D-stash when I was buying some other yarn, and like, oh, I'll just throw this in at D-stash price to help, you know, make it worth doing the deal. But it's knitting up really nicely. This is going to be, so this is another situation where they're having you work the wrong side as the right side because you're going to be able to flip it up then. And so right now this is not super fun to work because it is half twisted rib and you're purling through the back loop rather than knitting through the back loop, which is harder for most people probably. It's definitely harder for me. to purl through the back loop. So that's what I have been doing, and I think I only have to go another maybe 1.5 inches on this before I have it. I think it's like 3.5 inches of brim before I get to start the actual fun part, which is all the cabling. But yeah, so that has been started. And then I already showed you guys the Melt the Ice hat, the red hat. Okay, let me show you my book club cardie, where we are with that. I have the back, the front, and the start of another front. So with the book club cardie, you start with the back panel, and then you pick up for a front, and then you pick up for the other front, and then you're gonna, you know, I'll knit these down to a certain length, and this one's already there. That looks kind of short. Might have to check that yoke depth. See if that's gonna be long enough for me. Knit that down, and then you'll join your fronts and your back. Like I said, I might have to knit that down. I don't know. We'll see. See how it's feeling once I've got the other one there. I can always go back and knit some more rows if I need to make that armhole depth deeper. But yeah, nothing really to say about this one except, oh, I did notice over here, I messed up on, let's see if I can see. I got carried away and started doing these little bitty cables like every other row rather than every 4 rows like they're supposed to be. This is what I get for not looking at my pattern while I'm doing it, because this is actually a very easy pattern to just look at it. Like, you don't have to be staring directly at your pattern all the time. I realized after I had been working on this a while how much harder the Stars Hollow pullover pattern is. That's another Starry Nordland that I knitted in the summer, and that one is like so much more complex. Like, it is not memorizable. There's always something going on, but this one super memorizable, and you can just I don't know, you can really see what you're doing and what you should be doing, what you need to do next. So that's really nice. I'm loving the yarn. I talked about that before. Woodland tweed from Knit Picks in the colorway Thumper Heather, and it's just super soft and nice to work with. So really enjoying that one. I just need to work on it more. I've gotten distracted with all these other cast-ons, and I would like to get that one knit up. So I really need to give it more attention, but I think the fine sweater is kind of taking all my attention right now. But I needed because so at one point, all I had going was my book club cardie and the fine sweater, and both of those require, you know, significant concentration, and I needed something nice and easy to work on like in the mornings when I'm waiting for my kids to get ready. And so I cast on my Winnie top, and this is a pattern by Lily Kate Makes. It is, now that I've got the short rows done, this is the back, got the short rows on. It should be like, I just have to knit 1,000,000 rows in stockinette, and then I'll have to create the fronts. So this is my in the morning knitting. I am holding 2 balls of Voliere from a Knit Picks. This is a Knit Picks yarn. I'm holding them doubled. It's in a bag because it is very tangly and very slippery. This is I did write these down. It is 40% linen, 30% mulberry silk, and 30% alpaca. So I think it's probably that silk content is making it really, well, probably, and the linen too, makes it very slippery. And I think the silk makes it very tangly, because I feel like linen doesn't normally tangle that bad. But anyway, I'm just finding it easier to put it in those little Ziploc bags to keep it from tangling up with the other one, and then keep it its own self kind of contained. Yeah, so that's my early morning knit, and my goal for that one is to have it done by the early spring so that I will be able to wear it before it gets too hot. Okay, and then I told you guys that I will be knitting another pair of the Shire mittens for my friend. But I'm also going to be doing another test for Sarah Kelley. She showed us this during the Shire mittens, and I was like, oh, I got to test those. It's called Reynard and Vixen. It's another mitten, and it's got foxes. If she's posted a picture of it publicly, I'll have put it up here, but if not, just know it is very cute, and it has the most adorable thumb on it. So anyway, I guess I can show you the colors I'm doing that in. So I'm going to be using these two colors of palette. I feel like this is a really good fox color. It's Salsa Heather, and then this one is Oregon Coast Heather, which looks like just brown, but it's one of those palette colors that's got a lot going on. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a lot of depth to it. It's got a lot of different colors, as does really all of their heathers do, but the Salsa Heather also has a lot of depth. I love palette for color work like this. My Oregon Coast looks bad because I actually tried to make the Draco Manus mittens in it and knit quite a bit, and then decided I actually did not have enough contrast. But I think there should be plenty of contrast between these two. So those will be my fox mittens, and then this is the combination that my friend picked for her Shire mittens. Oh, I think that will be really cute. All right. In my anxiety, I have been applying for all the tests. So Wool & Pine had a test call for a garment that's like a short sleeved garment. It has some kind of lacy cables on the bottom, and I was like, that's cute and probably quick because it's short sleeved. So I signed up for that. I don't know that I got that, but possibly I will be making that. And I have some ideas. I'm probably going to be using Knit Picks gloss for that one if I get it. And then I ordered some yarn with, my family just had our Christmas. We had it on Martin Luther King Day. And with some of my Christmas money from my mom, I ordered some yarn from crochet.com, which is like Knit Picks. I don't know why they have to have two different websites, kind of dumb. And they have slightly different inventory, even though it's like literally the same warehouse. But at crochet.com, they had this yarn called Renew, because I guess they, like the private equity firm that owns Knit Picks, I think also owns Barocco. And so they carry some Barocco yarns now. And yeah, so there was this one called Renew, which is normally $13, and it was on clearance for $5. And they had like plenty of stock of it, but it's discontinued. So I ordered I ordered a vest quantity, a sweaters quantity, and a tee quantity of that, because it's in DK, which again, I don't have a lot of DK, but it seems like everything these days is calling for DK. So I got yarn to make an Alchemist slipover. That was a pattern that I got from Wool & Pine as a compensation for testing for them, and I took direct inspiration from their version, which I'll put up here, and ordered what I hope is a close green to that. But the Renew yarn is like cashmere and wool and viscose, which seemed like an interesting blend. I looked at it and it had good reviews. Like didn't see anybody complaining about it, and some people were raving about it. So I don't know why it's discontinued. With my luck, I will fall in love with it, and then it's going to be discontinued and I'll never get it again, like the caterpillar yarn that some of you saw from my zipper sweater light. That's really pretty yarn, really pretty color, and you can't get it. So anyway, those are some upcoming plans. I don't know that I'll get that Alchemist slipover cast on anytime soon, just because I got so much on my plate, but maybe it's good to have things in the wings, right? Okay, so I'm about to pass into 45 minutes, so I almost hit my goal. I hope that you're taking care of yourself in these dark times, and I'll be knitting as my own sort of form of resistance and continuing to be joyful, and I hope that you will be as well. Bye.